I'm Wendy Brookhouse, one of the dietitians at Amway. I'm full-time.
I'm Sarah Van Eerden. I'm part-time.
And we're with the fitness facility. So you can find our office right off of that fitness facility. We're technically building 14. It's been a while since we've been there. But we'd love to see you if you're in the area. We're going to talk about going Mediterranean today. All of our dishes really promote the foods that are found in that diet plan. It's great for mood, believe it or not. It's great for a lot of things. But the plant-based diet, having a lot of healthy fats in your meals and in your even your snacks is a great way to get heart-healthy food, but also food that can lift your spirits and prevent inflammation, decrease inflammation. All of those things help our body, our gut health, which helps our mind. So there's a lot you can look into, the gut-brain axis. We could get really deep, but for now, today, we're going to just have fun cooking a few things. So we'll get started. Whether this is your breakfast, whether it's your dinner or your snack, we wanted to start off with quinoa. So that's one of the recipes you have, baked quinoa. And I'm just going to measure in here. I already have the quinoa set. I'm going to pour in another cup of quinoa. I'm sorry, of almond milk. You can use almond milk, you can use soy milk, any substitute. Again, the Mediterranean diet is kind of heavier on plant-based protein, so we're not going to go with the actual dairy milk. Not that there's something wrong with that, but today that's just what we're going to focus on. I'm going to grab a spoon to stir this. Let's see. Thank you. It's Sarah's kitchen. She's graciously. So everybody's kitchen is set up a little bit differently. That's another fun part of this. Even dietitians. All right, so I'm stirring this together. And then I'm going to pour it again. In this pan, I've already got a cup of water going in here. Get the rest of the quinoa out of the measuring cup. And then we'll kind of just use the spatula to stir it around in the pan to make sure it's evenly distributed. Then we're going to cook it for about 15 minutes. We'll set the alarm to let us know when it's done, and we'll kind of give you a few more tips then on how to serve it and how to enjoy it. So whole grains are really important in the Mediterranean diet. There's a lot of processed grains out there, even rice, white pasta. Those are actually processed foods. You're taking out that outer shell of those grains. And quinoa is a great one that it's a whole grain, and it's also a plant-based protein. It's really the only grain you're getting a good amount of protein with it. So it's a great one to start incorporating more in your daily intake. So I'll let Sarah take it away.
All right, and I'll add a little note to the quinoa piece. One of my favorite techniques to share with clients to make whole grains really easy to add in the kitchen is to freeze them. I love to cook and freeze whole grains. Stores are actually selling them, but they're getting, $1.50 for a 1 cup portion probably. You can cut costs and do that at home. So if you cook quinoa, you can freeze that. You can freeze farro, long grain rice, wild rice. I'll even freeze cooked lentils. So that's kind of a good little tip to kind of add to that. I'm going to start this so it actually cooks.
I just looked at my watch. Wait, okay.
Okay, so breakfast quinoa is dish number 1. Dish number 2, I had to get started ahead of time, which I was actually thinking I could have adjusted it, but we're doing the whitefish. So it's a whitefish that's going to be with a tomato sauce, and it looks kind of fancy, but it's pretty easy. So I have a few things. Let's see, over here with that recipe. Like I said, this is our first time, and okay. So if you have that recipe pulled up, most of what that recipe goes through is this tomato sauce, which you can see right here in the cast iron skillet. It starts with the base of olive oil. I added onions, chopped tomatoes, but I was actually thinking as I was doing it, I could have done this right in real time with you all if I did a can of stewed tomatoes. So feel free to make adjustments like that with recipes. You still get the fiber. The canned items are more convenient, but coming into summer, we use fresh. So one thing I wanted to cover is capers. Okay, if you haven't used capers, they are a bit higher in salt, so we don't want to use a lot of them, and they pack a really big flavor punch. So this called for 1.5 tablespoons for this whole dish. I actually chopped them up so that that flavor would be dispersed through this sauce even more. It also has a lot of garlic. You'll see 10 cloves. I think I did 8. So I wanted to go over a couple tips on garlic because you will see lots of spices, things like garlic, herbs in the Mediterranean diet. So when you have your garlic cloves, one way to, should we move them a little? Maybe that. I think I'm gonna move you guys. Sorry. We've got you on a book so we can slide you. There we go. Okay. So, and I always make sure we go over this part. Most people know, but I saw my mom painstakingly peeling a garlic clove once. And yeah, anyway, take the wide part of your knife. You're going to lay it on top of that garlic clove and just push down. You'll hear that crunch, and that's your smashed cloves. Now, I did not even chop the garlic, just put it right in the sauce because it's going to cook down with that fish. So it's very easy to peel once you smash that with the side of your knife. Another method for garlic, we're not going to use it for this recipe, is the silicone garlic peeler. It's made just for that. It's just a tube made of silicone. You put the whole garlic clove inside and roll in the middle. So that actually pulls the paper off. Well, this is a really fresh garlic clove. Sometimes when they're older, it works a little better. So that comes off. From there, you are primed to use this microplane, which makes a garlic paste. So if you want something where it's not whole cloves of garlic, you can rub this garlic clove here, and you can see all that garlic that's ready to be used. And then a third technique is to buy minced garlic. So there's 3 ways to kind of add that to your dish. And this is a very heavily garliced dish. I think that's all I wanted to go over for this. So what we're going to do is prep that baking dish for the fish. And this is a way that you can kind of cook fish in a really hands-off way. I left that on too hot. That's what happens when your brain starts doing something else. All right, so we're going to add about half of this, and I'll kind of show this to you guys. You can see how good that looks. I didn't use raisins in this dish. It called for it. I had currants, so I just used those. There they are. We're gonna just said to cover it, right? It's all the way down. If your whole grains are boiling over, your heat's too high.
Dietitian tip for the day.
Yep. Okay, so I've got cod here. You'll find fish in the Mediterranean diet at least twice a week. I went for cod because it's flaky. It stands up really well in baked dishes. So we're just going to set this cod right onto this sauce. I'm going to wash my hands after this real quick, but so this is something that you can do with salmon as well. You could probably do tuna steaks, a lot of different dishes, and you could also do the same technique but change the vegetable. So if you didn't want to do tomatoes, you could try it even with like a cooked carrot, celery, and onion. So you can kind of change it up. All right, so you can kind of see that going here. We got the fish layered. I'm going to put it in the oven at 400 for about 20 minutes here while we do our other. So that's easy. Another way that I'll do that is I'll put pesto on top of the fish if I don't want to cook, a full sauce on my own. So sometimes you just put pesto right on your fish and bake it for the same amount of time. So that's another little quicker tip. All right, handing it off.
All right, I'll go over the bean salad real quick, and then we'll check on that quinoa. Let me move our little camera here, see that you can get that corner.
I can get you set too.
All right, so this is my all-time favorite dish. I actually was in the Dietitians of West Michigan. We made a cookbook about 10 years ago. I'm not going to date myself, so we'll say 10 years. And this was one of the recipes we came up with. It's got, if you look on your handout, we've got the red onion, the corn, the tomato, the celery, chopped there. I actually use canned corn sometimes if I don't have the frozen, even a fresh corn on the cob. If you've got one left over, kind of take it off the cob there and have that ready. And then the beans make it also colorful. We've got pinto in here, black bean, and then we've got the dark red kidney beans. You could use northern, whatever kind you'd like. Again, beans, legumes, that's a great way to get those plant-based proteins, which is so important on the Mediterranean diet. I really challenge you if you're a kind of a meat person, fish twice a week, a lot of beans, the quinoa, trying to get nuts and seeds, trying to get your protein from different sources. It's something that the American diet, unfortunately, it's pretty high in those red meats and other animal proteins. And if we can kind of back off on that and get a little more plant-based, that's the way to go. So we've got all of these great ingredients, these vegetables. Color is key. Eating at least 5 servings of fruits and vegetables a day for everyone is the goal. And getting a lot of different colors, believe it or not, they all have their own unique properties and benefits. So, just having green vegetables all the time isn't necessarily going to give you, the best bang for your vegetable buck, so to speak. So now let's make the dressing. Vinaigrettes are delicious. Sarah has talked in a lot of classes and has had some great education on making your own vinaigrettes. You can add a lot of different things to olive oil, but extra virgin olive oil is the main oil that is used in the Mediterranean diet. So we just do a 1/4 cup here of the extra virgin olive oil. Keeps pouring. And then I'm going to whisk it with some spices. So we're going to do 1 whole teaspoon of chili powder. Oops. And since it's a dressing, if you're a little under, a little over, not a big deal. And then we're going to do 1/2 teaspoon of cumin. And I love cumin, so if I go a little over on this one, hey, lucky me. So let's see. One thing you might not know of, in this humid weather, your spices, your salt and things might start to stick together, and just a couple kernels of rice can help with that. So little tip today. Another thing too that you've got on your recipe is adding cilantro. So 3 tablespoons of cilantro is the goal. You can actually just use kitchen shears. I'm not cutting this super fine, but it's just a great way to get your spices into your dish without having to pull them apart and chop them with a knife. Cilantro has a lot of, kind of those stick stems. So you don't want to get too many of those, but it's a great way to just kind of quickly get that. So we're going to put a little bit more. I'm going to fold it over here to get more of the leaves all at once. Cilantro really is a delicious addition to so many things. Guacamole, so many dishes are great with cilantro. Then it calls for a 1/4 cup of lime juice. So I really love to use fresh limes. If anything, what's left over, I like to put in just my glass of water that I'm drinking at the time. So it's, double usage. But you could also use lime juice as well if you'd like, because it is a lot of lime to make 1/4 cup there. And then once you're done with the lime, you're going to pour in salsa. Any kind of salsa works. Typically the recipe asks for chunky salsa. I think it just kind of sets better when it's all mixed together. But the one I'm using is a little bit more fluid. So whatever kind of salsa you like, you could even use a tomatillo base, like a green salsa. Whoops. There you go. Gotta have a few little mishaps. So there we go. So there's 3/4 cup of my salsa. I'm going to mix it around. Now, ideally, this dish is done at least 2 hours in advance, so you can let all those flavors settle. Have it in your fridge while you're maybe making other things, and then stir it often to get that vinaigrette to kind of distribute and get those flavors to blend. But again, this is a fantastic dish to bring to barbecues, family gatherings, whatever you might have. You can eat it just as is. I've also had it before with quinoa, so make it a complete meal. Again, you're going to have the protein from the beans plus the protein from the quinoa, so it's just a great way to kind of get that full meal without having to worry about, any sort of extra additions. You've got the vegetables, you've got the healthy, complex carbs, so fantastic. So there we go. Stir that all up, put it in the fridge, and we're going to talk about the quinoa dish real quick.
Yes, but I did forget a step in the fish, so I'm going to pull that back out. I forgot to add the lemon. Just A-okay. So we've got this fish here. We're just gonna put some lemon zest, which I used the exact same microplane that I did the garlic on. Did that for the lemon zest. And arrange your cut lemons right within the fish. And you might want to serve it with some as well. But those are gonna get nice and roasted. Let's see. I like have to arrange them.
It's beautiful.
Looks beautiful. Okay, so there's the lemon zest. Forgot that little step. Okay. Put that back if you want to grab the oven.
Yeah.
It's nice having an assistant when you cook. Okay, cool. So there's that. I ended up venting the quinoa. I don't know if my gas stove is just really hot, but it's boiling over, so it's happy now.
It's going to be delicious. One thing I didn't add, you'll see on your handout, it did say to add avocado. You could chopped avocado to that dish, as well as orange bell pepper or any color bell pepper. So again, mixing up even more vegetables is fantastic.
All right, so next we're doing this avocado salad. It's a really simple salad, but that's kind of the whole point of the Mediterranean diet, right? Is you're letting the foods kind of showcase themselves. Actually, before I start, we have a question. Your bean salad, how long in the fridge?
Oh, about 2 hours just to get those flavors.
No,
to
how long
blend.
does it last?
Oh,
The other way.
I would say probably no more than 2 days would be about the timeline. You've got the fresh herbs in there. You've got the tomatoes freshly cut. So I would just go with about 2 days.
Yeah. And that's one that if you're going to serve it for like a party or something, you could get all the dry veggies cut the night before and make the vinaigrette in a mason jar and mix them 2 hours before your event, or just kind of prepare those at different times so that it doesn't have to all be at once. So we're going to do an avocado salad. We probably should turn that off soon.
I will take care of that.
Yeah, it's looking.
I'm on it. I'm on the quinoa.
She's on it. Okay. But then I know you have to leave the cover on for 5 minutes after you turn it off. So we're going to go back over the quinoa, but it's looking pretty done to me. So this is an avocado salad. And one thing that I really want to stress about salads is that it does not have to be, your leafy lettuce type of a salad. It can be a grain salad. Wendy just made the bean salad. This is going to be an avocado base. The reason I chose this is we know omega-3s on the Mediterranean diet support mood, support a decreased risk of depression. So we want to make sure you're getting enough of those good healthy fats, and avocado is a great way to do that. So we're doing 2 avocados. I had 3 because I've had really bad luck with avocados lately where they seem perfect, but then you open it and it's gray. So hopefully these are great. You're going to roll the avocado around your knife and twist it open. Chop into that pit and twist. That takes the pit right out. I just knock the pit on the side of my garbage can. That doesn't freak me out, but if it freaks you out, do it on a bowl. I don't know.
And I'll save mine. It depends on what I'm having it with, but if it is just a fresh avocado, it helps keep it so it doesn't turn brown as fast.
Yeah. So here I'm just taking a smaller knife because I don't want to do that big one, drawing lines into the avocado vertically. Now I'm going to cross it horizontally. You're almost cutting a grid. A fork or a spoon will kind of pop those squares right out so that they're all diced, and you get to use the entire avocado. That's my thing. I saw somebody peeling an avocado once before they cut it, and you waste so much. So let's make sure you use all of what you paid for. So we're going to get that going. I didn't want to do this early and have it turn before I put the lemon juice on it. Da-da-da. Did you have bad luck with avocados? Did we talk about that?
I did.
It was like
I
a
watched
month.
your knife video and it was like 3
Yeah.
days later.
Yeah. Jeepers,
Which, by the way, check that out on the Facebook videos. It's a great tip with knife skills.
So again, twist to open. Look at that tiny little
Oh,
bit.
it's adorable.
That's so cute.
Dietitians, it's the little things.
I bought a book of avocado puns And the best was, and they were all cartoons, the best was Brad Pitt and Emma Stone at the Grammys dressed as avocados.
Oh my gosh.
That's so funny.
That's good stuff.
It is good stuff. So, if you don't want to make this whole salad, you could definitely have it. Otherwise, you could do it if you wanted to do a snack or just an individual side dish for yourself. Just do it with half the avocado. If you're saving this one, you can do a little plate saucer with a tiny bit of olive oil on it. Squish this half of the avocado straight down in the saucer like that and put it in the fridge, and it keeps it like good as new. So if you want a smaller portion, definitely go ahead. All right, so there's our avocados. All in the bowl. I think I see one question. You can use a table knife. Oh, yes, you can use a table knife. Thank you.
Yeah, in case you cut through the rind, he's saying, so that is
This
a
knife
great
isn't
tip.
very sharp, but yes, safety first for sure. Okay.
And that's one of the most fun parts of being a dietitian. Everybody ideally, eats and cooks a lot of their food. So we get a lot of fun little insight and tips
For
from people.
sure. I'll just use that. Okay, so I wanted to continue with a couple knife skills. Just think that's always a good takeaway. We've got half of a sweet onion. I'm not a big fan of raw onion, so this is actually something where I would kind of chill this onion out if it was just for me. To do that, you would slice your onion. Where's my little garbage bowl go? Okay. It's helpful to have a place to throw things, right? Okay, so I'm gonna slice. Try to get yourself a flat surface. I'm gonna hold the knife with 2 fingers and wrap the rest of my hand around the bottom here. And knives are designed to push forward. And I think that's probably the biggest thing that if people are, quote, cutting wrong, I don't like that word, but if you're pulling it back toward you, you're essentially doing 2 motion. Your effort is a little bit wasted because they were designed to cut this way. So try to remember that. To chill out an onion, you would just pop it into a little bowl after you cut it and put a little bit of vinegar on it, a little water, or a little bit of your dressing, that vinaigrette. You could just let it soak in the straight vinaigrette or vinegar or even water, and that will chill the onion out a little bit if you're not going to cook it. I'm just rolling with it today. We'll see what happens. Someone's going to like it. So, some onion, cucumber. So for this salad with the cucumber, I'm not going to add an entire one because this one's pretty big. But what I am going to do is take the seeds out. The seeds sweat water. So if I want this to last even a few hours, I don't want to get all that liquid in there. So you can take a spoon, but I just cut it into spears like that, take my knife and slice the seeds right off. And that's just kind of a longevity thing if you're making a salad like this with a vinaigrette with cucumber on it. Oh, will you go grab that little, it's like looks like a chemistry class thing. I forgot my olive oil. Yeah. Okay, so we're gonna slice here. And again, with salads, they're very forgiving, right? So you're able to, can you guys see my cutting board lost a foot?
I wonder.
I gotta buy one because I haven't been using it, I forgot. So, all right, so we got our cucumber in there. I didn't leave out a tomato.
Oh, right over
That's
there.
okay, over there. Okay, with parsley, okay, and this was from my garden, that's why the cilantro looked so thin and inadequate, but the parsley is good. So with a sharp knife, if you're holding your parsley, you can almost shave the leaves off. This is not as sturdy as one from the store. You can imagine one from the store. It shaves right off of the stem. So that's kind of a nice way to get a bunch of parsley all at once. And then we're gonna, I can't do it. Fixing my cutting board here. Okay. So we're gonna take the knife and almost fan it through the fresh herbs. So you're kind of, there's no technique here, put it into a clump, but then watch your holding fingers. You're gonna keep the tip kind of where it's at, but fan the base of the knife around. So you're getting all that chopped, ready to go. All right, there's that. 2 tablespoons of olive oil, which I'm not gonna measure. I'm just gonna drizzle. So we're getting that on there. Looks good to me. Tomato. So with the core of the tomato, I like to kind of cut around that. So starting at the center and angle it in. That way you don't have to mess with cutting that out. So I'm going to end up with kind of a cone. It's just kind of a nice quick way. It's done there. Again, I kept the seeds in the fish recipe, which I didn't set a timer for. Taking the seeds out of this one.
It was 12:08.
All right. Get this diced up.
And Rhonda commented they have great cutting boards at lower cost at Home Goods. Yep. Also, too, if you ever put those little pads on the bottom of a chair to help so it doesn't ruin your wood floor, that's also something you can do for a leg on a cutting board.
Yes.
Or other things that miss one. I have a vase I just fixed that was long that I put that on.
Yeah, this one has 3 rubber feet right now, so it's gonna get a prosthetic. Okay. Lemon. Did I use it?
Right there.
Here. Thank you.
Right there.
We've kept track of ourselves pretty well. Okay, so after I make this, Wendy's gonna go over the quinoa while I check on the fish. This is the lemon I zested. You could add lemon zest to this. Again, they're versatile. I hope I didn't get a seed. You should squeeze it through your hands so you don't get those seeds dropping in, but you could add just a little touch of feta cheese to this if you weren't, if you were wanting a little bit more of a punch. You could do pine nuts for something a little crunchy. A lot of different things there. Fresh dill, if you had it, would be great.
And that's where that would be a great, almost meal in itself. Add those pine nuts, the healthy fats, the proteins.
I would put shrimp in this.
Ooh, yeah, that would be good too.
So that's that. So you're seeing some themes: plant-based, simple preparation, herbs, spices, olive oil for healthy fats, and then with proteins, we're coming away from dairy and beef-based proteins. Even they put chicken on the same level of that Mediterranean pyramid. So it's really looking at, okay, how can I branch out proteins with seafood, whole grains, nuts and seeds, that kind of thing. So I'm going to make this look prettier in a second. I'm going to get moving to Wendy with, hopefully that's okay. Oh, there we go.
I believe.
I can move here.
Okay. Yeah. Little transition as we wait.
We need elevator music.
That's right. We were actually listening to some French music before this, get the Mediterranean vibe going.
Yep.
So again, that's something we'd love to do again, is some more of these classes, and we're going to be a well-oiled machine after maybe the 5th one. I don't know.
Okay, go ahead.
All right. So we talked about warm quinoa. Again, that whole grain, that plant-based protein. It's great to have at breakfast. Get some protein for your day. So that's another reason why, having this quinoa is a great choice. So I'm not going to take all of it out. It made quite a lot. I mean, this is a huge pan, as you can see, and we've got all this quinoa here. So you just, put some in a bowl. Typically about 3/4 cup serving of oatmeal. Depends on how hungry you are. Okay, we've got that in there. And then I've got some berries. So whether it's raspberries, blueberries soon will be fresh and in season here in Michigan. So just add a little bit in there, a little bit of each. Got this little patriotic dish going on. And then walnuts, again, they've got that serotonin, that feel-good hormone that's really been found to help manage your mental health. So anytime you can add walnuts to salads, to yogurt, but even to hot breakfast dishes, it's a great way. So you just mix it together, as much of each piece as you want. So in this dish, I've got whole grains, I've got fruits, and I've got proteins and healthy fats with the walnuts as well. So it's a great complete meal there. And then if you want a little bit of sweet, some maple syrup, real maple syrup, this one, or organic blue agave, even some honey, just to give a little bit more flavor if you'd like. For me, I'll just add a lot more fruit. So if I really want that sweet taste.
I'll add vanilla extract to mine.
Great idea.
which is really good, or a little cinnamon, pumpkin pie spice, something like that. But the vanilla extract is really good.
That's a great tip. Yeah. So that's another wonderful thing that we're really hoping people start to branch out in is spices. You can even add some of those spices, vanilla extract, pumpkin pie, in like a Greek yogurt. So, try to experiment with those things. So just a nice little breakfast dish in the morning. A lot of restaurants are starting to have this as an option, the cooked quinoa instead of oatmeal or in addition to, as another choice. So it's starting to become more of a popular grain, but it's just a fantastic one to start incorporating into your diet. And again, if you did what Sarah mentioned in the beginning and froze some, you can use it again in a variety of different ways, in salads, with the main dish, and in your breakfast. So
Yeah, and I've always been curious because I think it's very possible, but Trader Joe's sells steel cut oats frozen, and it looks like they freeze them in cups and then take them out. So I think you could really put this into paper cups or even like mason jars, so you have your individual servings already counted out.
Oh yeah.
So there's that option too. How would we reheat frozen grains? So ideally, you would remember the night before that you're going to use it, and then you would just put it in the fridge the night before. That never happens to me. So it depends on what you're using it for. My go-to is this lower bowl. I'll just open the baggie, dump out the frozen chunk, and heat it for 2 minutes on medium. If it's a soup, I'll just put the frozen chunk of grain right into the broth, and it thaws right there. So it's pretty easy. I don't know if you have any tips. Like, they have the ones you're supposed to microwave.
Yeah. Oh, this was my creation. Delicious.
look at that.
Wonderful. Look at that. Oh, where do you live? Oh, come on over. Looks good. And one thing I use too that, and really all the ingredients is quinoa, is they actually have the microwavable bags. It comes in a box, and there's just a packet you submerge in about, I think it's 3 cups of water, and you cook it in the microwave or heat it up in the microwave. So that's another quick and easy option if you didn't plan ahead. But to bulk cook the grains and freeze it and you have it for multiple meals, we can't stress enough how helpful that is just in meal planning. So hope that's some good tips there.
All right, I'm gonna pull the fish out. It's looking good. If I were serving this, I would actually broil it for a bit to have the lemons. I was just gonna say onions.
I'm sorry.
I just want to get it so they can see, just like this. How do people do this for a special
Multiple
camera?
TVs.
Okay, there we go. Okay, I at least wanted you to be able to see, because it was pretty easy. Definitely, I'll just slide down. I would call this one entertainment ready, where it's hands off as long as you make that sauce ahead of time. Put this back up. Okay.
Yes, Rhonda, they have a camera person, probably a Sky camera. We'll talk to our boss about that one.
Right. Yeah. So as you can see, with fish, and a lot of my clients have never cooked fish. They are intimidated a little bit. Fish is, I think, pretty forgiving. You can definitely overdo salmon to where it's very dry, but something like cod, you can take its temperature and do that. But I just like to do a fork and see if it flakes apart in those sections, right? So I'm just going to kind of press it down. It's easily flaking, coming right apart, and it's opaque all the way through the fish. So that's what you're looking for.
Tilt it up a little bit, maybe to show the flake.
Yeah. So it's like hot.
Oh, you're right.
Yeah. So I don't know if you can see that, but I'm kind of just twisting my fork a little bit. If it comes right apart in segments, you're good to go. So this is done right here. It's missing a whole grain, right? So I'd probably serve this with a quinoa or a farro, or at minimum, I would put garbanzo beans. Just open those up, put those in the base of a bowl, and top that with this. Healthy carbohydrate choices can be really quite easy if you get creative with the other things that are going on top of it. So you were going to talk wine.
Oh, yeah. So on the Mediterranean diet, which I think a lot of us, that was the first thing we listened to about this when it first came into more prevalence in the United States. 1 glass of red wine, ideally it's dry, is considered acceptable on the Mediterranean diet. But one thing to think about is what is the size of your wine glass, which obviously this is a larger one, but the most common size really, and what is the amount of wine you're putting in there. So 5 ounces is considered 1 serving. So if you have a glass like this and you're a female, this should be lasting you throughout the whole meal. If you're a male, around 2 servings a day is considered appropriate. So again, it's how much are you having?
I did
that
measure
moderation. And yes, we did measure this. It is accurate. And yes, you are right, Elizabeth. It is key to have that enjoyable wine with our meal. Elizabeth can talk about this too, but the importance of the length of time of your meal. That's another thing in the Mediterranean diet that we can't stress enough. So many things people focus on, well, this sounds good to me. I'll do this part of that plan, but not this. And with Mediterranean diet, Mediterranean cooking, it's done with people. So the idea is you're sitting down and you're not rushing through this. This isn't something that you should be, eating in 10 minutes. We want you to sit with friends, sit with family, talk, share the meal. The experience is all part of it. And that's a big part with mental health too, is having support, having people in your life that you can discuss things with. It really does help in multiple ways. Another part of the Mediterranean diet plan is to be active. So physical activity, at least 30 minutes a day, moderate, a variety of different types. Doesn't have to be anything perfect or specific, but moving, talking, just being together, interacting, that's really the key of this entire diet plan.
For sure. All right. And I don't know if you all saw the finished product. I'm coming right in here.
All right.
Finished product for the avocado salad is right here. Yeah, this is a really forgiving salad as well. You could put in broccoli slush, shredded carrots. So, take the points that Wendy just went over and make sure, you stay creative, but kind of tier the places you put effort. So if one recipe is a lot more involved and looks intimidating, then keep the other things you're doing that day or even the next day really simple and easy. So if we try to tackle, these highbrow meals every single day, we're going to burn out. So that's kind of that's why I like the frozen grains and salads like this, where you really don't have to measure or cook, because I want to cook something like that, spend my energy there, can't do it all. So yeah. Questions? Did we cover everything?
Yeah, you guys are great. You didn't interrupt us. We didn't even mute you. Fantastic. A lot of you will be doing this at home, it sounds like.
Yeah, I hope so.
And again, we are your dietitians, so don't hesitate to email us, share your recipes with us. We love to share them with everybody else, and just give us some tips of your own. We're all in this together, right? So thanks for tuning in and spending time with us. And we did record this, so we'll see if it works. We'll try to send it back out if you want to watch it again or share it with someone. But thank you all for spending some time with us today.
So I think what we'll do for follow-up, send the recipe instructions. We'll do an email straight to this whole group with the YouTube link for the class and the attachment with the PDFs with the instructions and the notes on Mediterranean for mood. So you'll all get that in your inbox.
All right.
Cool.
Have a great one, everybody.